Hello. I'm gonna wait like a little bit longer and then I'm going to put the um agenda in the chat just in case anybody comes in late.
Hey guys, morning.
Good morning. I'm also gonna put the links to the bylaws in there. Um let's see. Okay. I pushed those through. Excuse me. I'm getting over a little bit of a weird cold. Um So since I know Emma has to go, we're gonna switch part of the um agenda around. And we're gonna start with your updates, Emma.
Okay, great. What do I get rid- Oh, close meeting chat. Okay, great. Well, should I just go ahead or wait for a few more minutes? Do, do, do. Um, oops.
Hmm.
Whoa. Should I go ahead and just give a brief little?
Yeah,
Okay, great.
go for it.
We were gonna wait for. All right. Well, my initial kind of researching seems like it is one both fairly similar and straightforward. The nonprofit incorporation in New Mexico. I couldn't find anything quite as beautiful and handy as that North Carolina info packet. So I have sent a couple emails. I just did that this week, so I haven't heard back. So hopefully I'll have some more solid info. I found a few organizations that were like a nonprofit, basically like a nonprofit for nonprofits. So I sent a few questions to them to see if they could like clarify a few of those things. I know we had specific questions about like the rules of like dues, like specifically being like, do members have, where there was some, what was that with the difference between like having to pay or not? Like there's some
Right.
some states have those specific rules.
Yeah.
I haven't found anything like that. It seems like kind of the same straightforward thing. You file your initial kind of application, $25 fee. This is through the state
Mhm.
to just kind of get your entity set up, and then you start the federal application, and then you have to do like an initial report shortly after that. So as far as like fees for New Mexico, it's like $35 total just for the state stuff. What else? The only thing I came across, which is possibly true in North Carolina too, is we do have to like have a specific registered agent of the nonprofit who, is a resident of New Mexico. But it seems like we have that at that point, so not an issue. And then that's the person that kind of, carries out these steps is on all that official paperwork. Um, dun-dun-dun-dun. Yeah, so waiting to hear back about a few more like very specific, some of those more specific questions. But nothing, no like big red, flags of like, oh, this will be a big issue for us so
That's,
far.
yeah, that's good to know. Um, Yay. I'm glad you reached out to this nonprofits for nonprofit.
Yeah, I was like, oh, this is it, I was like, okay, if anybody knows the ins and outs, it's
That's very cool.
this one. And yeah, you file all that paperwork through the state Secretary of State.
Gotcha.
Seems fairly straightforward. But yeah, if there are any other like super specific questions, I can, as I'm corresponding with those people, that anybody thinks of, let me know.
Okay. Perfect. I'm sure we'll also probably generate some just in going through the bylaws today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Which before you have to run, do you have any like big kind of ideas or suggestions or anything like that?
Close with that. I think the only thing I thought of, that was a little while ago that I went through this. Oh, just I know that we talked about this a little bit of like possibly getting rid of or streamlining the kind of idea of the zone representatives versus just like the general board. And I think that does make sense to kind of, since we are talking about a smaller number of people, at least at this point, that like simplifying that seems fine, and maybe saving that language for future expansions or something. But yeah, that was kind of my main takeaway, was like, yeah, that does make sense to streamline that just for the sake of
Yeah.
kind of ease and what we're really doing and serving for right now.
Yeah. I also think that makes sense. And since this is probably going to take a lot of time, we might as well just hop straight into this, Tanushree. And I feel like probably you might have seen an autopilot before, but it's like an AI that will take notes for people who can't make it to a meeting.
Gotcha.
So that's, in case you're like, why aren't you talking to Julie? That's why.
Freaked me out for a second when I got the note in the chat saying it's an AI assistant. Okay.
Yeah, they're quite helpful. Like I've had students who do them. And usually
Ah,
they get pretty good notes. I'm kind of curious if it's better notes than the closed captions.
yeah. Do they capture accents well? Or because I feel like AI frequently just like slips up
Yeah, I
and makes
wonder.
incoherent notes with accents. Yeah, yeah. We can
Yeah,
check.
yeah. I might ask Julie. Um, but yeah. So I think if you have to run, Emma, you're free.
I'm good till 12:30, so
Okay,
I'll pop out when I'll let y'all know.
perfect. Okay. So I think well, just for a second to go back, I owe everybody an apology. I got really busy um this last month in ways that honestly nobody could have expected. I got sick, but also my oldest nephew was in a car accident and he's fine somehow. But that definitely rattled me and a lot of time ended up going to like, buddy.
Yeah.
Um, he's 18. That's all. He's just 18 and did 18-year-old things. Anyway, so I just sent out my email to Nick, which is way later than it needed to be, so I apologize for that. Um, once I hear back from him though, I will use Emma's pre-drafted email to update participants. Um, I did put Foucault's lecture up on the website. If you all could please test that on a bunch of different types of computers just to make sure it runs pretty okay. It might be long because I put up the unedited version just to see how it works because this is the first big video we've put up on that website. Um, and then I also updated the websites, specifically the Spectrum website's mobile interface so that it looks better. If you could please test that too, if anybody has a tablet, if you could test that, I'd appreciate it. And you can just text me. You don't have to do it right now. I'm going to continue working on a setup for a shop. I didn't get a chance to do that. And I also have been thinking about the possibility of doing an Etsy shop because what I'm worried about is that we might not be able to set a number um, on our website, if that makes sense, like a maximum number of purchases that can be made.
Mhm.
Um, and since we'll be paying through PayPal, it might be a little bit weird. Um, I don't want anybody to pay for something and not be able to get it, you know? Um, but I'll double check that in the next month. And then we talked about Emma's updates. Um, I wrote all that down. Okay. Um, so basically I'm gonna check really quickly. Tanushree, do you want to talk about your ideas for programming now, or do you want to talk about them at the end?
Um, I could talk about them now. I didn't have much more than just a suggestion of those ideas. Like I was wondering, like I have two hacks that I can, kind of throw out at this point. They're kind of overlapping a little bit. So I can probably credit both members together in a hack. Or I was thinking it might, since Spectrum has now almost fully, like I posted um, the making of the Rezo scenes, and this is probably a good time for uh, like a, sorry, I'm just blanking out today. What's going on behind the scenes at RIPG post, I guess, like what we're working on, and along with that, like kind of source it, because I was wondering if we can disclose that, kind of combine these, like we're working on all of these things so we can get resources, so we can have actual, like, pay people to teach things, and have like uh, education around printmaking. And then, but right now we wanted to crowdsource and see what, but what do you guys want to hear about? Is that, yeah, what do you guys think?
Yeah. Sorry, I'm writing
Yeah,
down.
like
what you said.
Mhm.
uh, um are you talking about maybe like a post that as far as like on or in the newsletter, Instagram or something, like asking people what they want to see? Is that what your question is?
Yes, yes, sorry.
Okay.
It was a vague question. Yes, it
No, yeah, I
is.
just want to make sure
No.
I'm also fine. Uh, I think that makes sense because then maybe, maybe people do have, some idea or just like something like that will get other people to, you know, add, contribute a studio hack or, one of these other things. So I think that makes sense. Sounds like
Thank you. Thank you. Yes.
Yeah. And I liked your ideas about tips for job hunting and printmaking or building that library of web or book resources of printmaking. We have like a spreadsheet that's sort of that.
Yes.
But when we introduced it, it never really took off. So
Hmm.
I'd be open to talking about different ways to do that, whether it's like periodic posts on Instagram that we then collect into oh, what are those called? Highlight reels or something
Yeah.
that live there, or that just for some reason following it to a secondary source just didn't catch on, you know.
I see.
We could
Yeah.
also try doing it on the website.
Yeah, that would be great too. Would that be easy? Or would that be a lot more extra work? That's what I mean.
It would
Probably,
be
right?
some work to put it together, but we could work on
Yeah.
that together. And then maintenance would be really easy.
Okay, gotcha. Nothing is easy with the website. I understand that. So I did not mean to ask, like, is it? Yeah.
You're totally fine. It would just require like additional meetings. So when Edie and
I
I were
know.
updating the website, we would meet with each other in between the
Yeah.
monthly meetings. That's all.
Yeah.
Usually for like an hour and a half, and then
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah. I guess once I build up a little bit, like if this is what people vote for, and I build up a little bit of a list, we can go ahead and put it. It might, save you time also, so that we can work on other things while we.
Yeah.
Uh, and I should just. I was wondering about like if we do build a library, like where to. I'm guessing there is a traditionally taught printmaking canon, and should I make it about like voices of my marginalized artists in printmaking? Because that would be because I think Becky, you had recommended that book to me with shit. Now I'm blanking out on that one too. But I would never have seen it in all my research. And it's a black female printmaker who lived in Mexico for a while.
Oh,
Yes.
um, I
Yes,
I don't know.
it's just one of those days. But yes, it
Yeah.
changed my life, and I was like, "This. Why did I not see this all the time that I was, researching online?" So I was wondering if that should be like a focus of.
Mhm.
I didn't know how
I
to
think
frame it,
so.
but yeah, marginalized voices, right?
Yeah, I think that would be really good. Because there's a lot of adjacent things as well that I think um would be really beneficial. Like we don't get in art programs, especially my personal experience in state schools was that we didn't get a lot of gender, women, and sexuality studies or critical race theory. I have those because I have a sociology degree, so they were very
Yeah.
separated. Um, and I think they are helpful so that people can give names to what they're experiencing. But yeah,
Yes.
I'm very into that idea. So if we can find
Absolutely.
a way to make it work, I would love to do that.
Yes. Perfect. Perfect. Gotcha. Um, okay, and I think those were my updates. Sorry, I'm trying to put this together. What should I put in the status post? Like, how much should I reveal in terms of like,
Mm.
these are our plans after incorporation. What are we doing now? Yeah, what, how much are
Yeah,
we ready to?
I think we should definitely tell them we're revisiting the bylaws based on the current size of the group, right?
Hmm.
Um, I really want them to have like a ton of transparency on that.
Yeah, yeah,
And
exactly.
then we can let them know that I mean, it's going to be put to a vote for them anyway.
Mm,
I'm writing this out.
yeah, me too.
There will be a vote. And then on top of that, kind of, I don't know how to phrase it, not necessarily in the meantime, but we're not going anywhere. It's not like you're not going to hear anything from us,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
we'd like to kind of target our
Mm,
next move, you know,
yeah.
um,
Uh,
to be as beneficial as it can be.
Absolutely.
And then what do
Okay.
you want to do?
Yeah.
And I think, can we do polls in posts on Instagram? I'm gonna find out really quick because
You
I've
can
been a
do-
little unclear about that. I know we didn't used to be able to, so
Oh, I see. I just assumed we could, but yes, I need to be.
I think you can definitely do it in a story, right?
yes, you can definitely do it in a story. I'm gonna just post a random image. I'm not actually gonna post it. Um, okay. Yes, you can add a poll now
Oh,
to a
thank you
post.
for thank, thank you for looking that up.
That's awesome. Okay. That's really nice because we used to have to make them go to another site and like you lose people when you do that. You know?
Yes.
Um, so, and that'll be a great test for possibly having that be the way that we have them do voting for the bylaws too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
because
Do
I'd
we?
rather simplify that. I mean, we have to send it out via email as well, but
Hmm.
yeah.
Gotcha. Do we have a fixed number that we're telling uh them like these are the this is the membership we have right now, or do we just leave it at we're adjusting the bylaws?
I think we can give them a number. Um, I think importantly, talk about active members,
Hmm.
and then talk about volunteers,
Hmm.
because that's really the issue is we have plenty of active members, but we don't have as many volunteers that are routinely assisting with that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So active members is the list, I guess, that we have of no, that's the total membership, right? Or
We have
the
um, in our contact list on Google.
193, I thought.
Yeah, we have active members 159, all members are 239. So that's everybody that signed up
Gotcha.
for the email address.
Oh, gotcha, gotcha.
But the
Okay,
active members are the people who are verified to also follow us on Instagram.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, so that's the distinction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Which, I mean, that's our eligibility requirement for opportunities. So, and then as far as active volunteers, that list is pretty outdated. I would honestly say we have on this list myself, you two, Edie, Anna, um, and periodically 2 or 3 other people. So usually 8
Mm,
volunteers, give or take, that are actively working.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Perfect. That'll be helpful to frame it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's all on my end. I was going to talk about the newsletter, but I think I'll just send out opportunities. Um, yeah, that's nothing major going on for March. Yes.
Awesome. Okay. And if I see any, I'll tell you about them.
Perfect. Thank you.
And then that Snap Gallery thing is pretty cool. I think it's really fun that people reach out to us now.
Yes.
Awesome.
Okay, so let's talk. So did everybody get a chance to read the sorry, I'm trying to make this bigger so I can see everybody. The zone representative kind of notes, the team notes, and the board of directors notes, or bylaws. I shouldn't say notes. It's not the right term.
Yeah, the member bylaws.
Yeah. Because I think,
Sorry, I'll be on. Oh, sorry.
no,
Go ahead.
you go ahead.
No, I'll be honest. I didn't get a chance to read it. I'm sorry. Just
Okay.
things. Yeah, I will get on it and put in a more detailed reading soon. I've taken a skim, but yeah, I didn't really get a chance to like get into it.
Well, I think something we could do, and we did this when we were drafting the bylaws too, is I'll just share my screen and we can kind of, I think the zone representative thing is the thing that most needs to be re-examined. So let's just take a look at it together.
Yeah, that was I mean, yeah, that's sad because like it's like just so much so in depth. I remember that was like very in depth. There's a lot of information, and it's like
Yeah.
it's almost sad because I was like, oh, but really, like, do we need at this point that other level, that level of
Mhm.
structure or not?
Yeah, and it doesn't quite make sense to have the zone representatives separate from the board. So
Mhm.
the reason the board is separate, and I'm gonna switch over really quickly, is because boards are responsible for overall policy. I'm reading right here. And direction of the guild, and they're supposed to delegate responsibility for day-to-day operations to the zone representatives, but we're not big enough, I think, for that to actually make sense. And so what we might do is just stitch those day-to-day operations back into the board.
Mm-hmm.
And then that actually might make more sense as far as the state looking at us incorporating goes. And then the teams kind of take the place of what usually is like a committee. And we could make it so that there's like, and this is me kind of modeling it off of MAPC, but mostly because we're at a size where that makes more sense, if that makes sense. But we could have teams instead be somehow related to zone representatives, because the structure overall is the board, which is mostly supposed to be responsible for fiscal decisions, things like that, surveying zone representatives' performance, to make sure they're actually being efficient, right? They can vote people off of the zone representatives, et cetera. Then the zone representatives would do essentially the everyday stuff. So specifically, they would also be able to survey their performance and efficacy, but specifically, they would be reviewing and approving the guild's budget so that the board doesn't do anything wild with the budget. They're basically two like checks and balances is how they exist. But they also support like how do you phrase it? Oh, I'm sorry, I'm reading the wrong thing. I'm reading the board twice. I have it printed out here too. The zone representatives would be the ones who are basically determining the process of everything, right? So they'll have elections, they'll be in charge of, again, raising financial resources. So any kind of fundraising would be a zone representative and board effort anyway. Biennial review of the guild's performance of goals and objectives. They they would be required to take on a leadership position within a team. Any existing or proposed teams, and teams again are like committees. So it'd be like, we have an exhibition, let's make a team for that, right? We have a publication, we'll make a team for that, et cetera, et cetera. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah.
The only other difference is they they would promote guild activities in a way that the board doesn't currently, and membership benefits. So they would be more in charge of the like interactions with members than the board would be. And then they also, I'm trying to think of how to summarize that last point here. And they essentially would request funds from the board. The board was basically just like the treasurer, but a series of treasurers instead of one treasurer.
Yeah.
Because the way the board is set up is making sure that they follow the law, helping with fundraising, and then distributing funds based on what the membership wants to do. So we could instead, we did this because we didn't want to have like a structured hierarchy of like president, vice president, treasurer, secretary, because that can get dodgy, but it's also not collaborative in the way that we had hoped that this group could be, and the way that it has been, right? I mean, we're all pretty, I think we're all on pretty even footing as far as what we do and how we explore the direction of the guild. It'd be nice if we had more voices, but you know, that's up to coming to meetings. So I don't know, maybe what we do is just kind of absorb those zone representative duties and tasks into the board of directors. And then we have the board of directors just named directors. That way there's still no hierarchy.
Yeah.
And we could give specifics if we wanted to. I don't know how y'all feel about that. So we could do something like director of finance, director of marketing, I don't know, director of exhibitions, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had started like trying to brainstorm some like, things like that. Yeah. Director of, membership and outreach and events and these different like categories. But then I was also thinking like, oh, is that, would it be better to leave it more general and then it's more responsive to, as those board of directors changes, maybe those can be more, fluid categories as opposed to like you always need to have your director of whatever, finance or director of event, like, and probably those things would continue to be like, useful and, but also I think it would be just as helpful to say, just a general board, like everyone is just a member of the board, and then maybe use that idea of like the teams/committees to break down the more like specific roles as needed.
Yeah.
That's a great idea. I think so too, because even up till now we've been pivoting based on what's needed, where, and if the roles change, the teams change, we've kind of just taken on different responsibilities. Yeah, that makes total sense with how we've been operating. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think it's I mean, a big thing that we have criticized other groups for is their inflexibility as time changes and things evolve, and a bunch of work ends up falling on one person because that's what their name is, and I think it just makes more sense to have just a general board. So I think I agree, maybe using those teams, committees to determine roles, and then people get to decide, right? which direction they go in. Right.
Absolutely.
I think we numbered the board of directors, and I'm trying to find it on my notes.
I think it said 5 to 9. I did
Yes.
just read that. Or-
5 to 9. Does that number still make sense?
Um, I think, I mean, oh, this was another thing I remembered in my New Mexico research. Like you're required to have at least 3 board members. That's the minimum for that. But I think that still makes sense. Like if we are, it would be one thing if we are still trying to keep zone representatives and board of directors separate. Then maybe we want to make then just like for tech realistic purposes of like 9 board members and zone representatives. Like we don't have quite the number of people who can participate at that involvement level right now. But if we're possibly condensing those 2 categories, then
Yeah.
5 to 9 still seems good.
I agree. I like the so we picked an odd number on purpose.
Mhm.
Um I think we might, I'm just worried that people aren't going to join the board.
Yeah.
So worried about it because I'm like, I wonder if it would be okay if we went to like 3 to 7,
Yeah.
just on the off chance. And then that can always be amended. Again, that would simply be by like the board saying, let's amend the bylaws, and then the membership votes. On yes or no, basically, for what the board proposes.
Yeah.
So we could change that in the future, but I worry. I'm very worried.
Yeah. That's fair. I mean, honestly, when I was doing that research of like, oh, okay, you only need 3 board members, I was like, that's good. That's a backup.
Right. They all have to be elected, which is good. I mean, we're not going to get rid of that, right? Let's see. Virtual polling. I don't think we really need to change anything about the nomination process. It's online voting, basically. There is an election committee that has to exist. That'll have to be made up of like former board members and volunteers, or team members. Which I believe we wrote that out somewhere else, and I can't remember where we actually wrote that one out. I don't know if it's actually in either of these bylaws. I think it's in a separate bylaw. So I'm going to make a note that we probably want to revisit that in case it said something about, sorry, in case it said something about zone representatives. And we said Google Forms for voting. And there's a 2-week voting time period. Is that okay with everybody?
Yeah, that still seems
Yeah.
Okay, I think that's the same for literally all of the roles. So, with the exception of teams, teams don't have to be voted in. They're volunteers, basically. Google Forms, predetermined amount of time. So the vacancies and interim directors follows the law. So we'll have to like come back to that if there's any New Mexico specific things that we need to worry about there. I believe the term of office is up to us. So considering that we're kind of smushing this and the zone representatives together, I'm looking at the zone representatives to see where their thing is, responsibilities, vacancies. Terms, okay. 2 consecutive fiscal years, so both of them are 2-year terms.
Mm.
So that's not an issue. We don't need to change that unless you would like to change it from 2 to like a 3-year cycle or something.
I think
That
2
sounds
years still
good.
makes sense. I
Yeah.
think that, I mean, I think a shorter period makes more sense, as, gives more space for people to, like, I think it'll be easier for people to, take the responsibility.
Yes.
Adding an extra year, I feel like people's situations change so frequently that the longer would be a less
Yeah,
feeling thing potentially. So I feel like 2 years makes sense to me.
gotcha. Well, and there's also, so it goes on to say that there's a 6-month overlap between the new board and the old board.
Mhm.
So I think that should be good too. They do continue on without the powers of a board member.
Mm.
Does 6 months make sense, or would it be better to make it like 4 months or 3 or?
So is this just a kind of handing over the responsibilities and kind of showing them the ins and outs of the role? Is that all
Yeah.
it means?
Yeah, it's basically just like a training period.
Yes.
Yeah.
I feel like a shorter period would be okay, like three months, unless they're only meeting in meetings, in which case 3 meetings might not be enough. But if they're meeting by themselves as well, then shorter period's good.
It's 3. And again, without the powers of a board member. And I like what you said about only attending monthly meetings.
Mm.
I'll say only required to attend those because that makes more sense.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Here, I'll come back over here and start actually making these notes. I write faster and think faster on paper, so I'm gonna go in and put these in here once we're done. So each director shall hold office until their term expires, they pass away, resignation, removal, disqualification, or their successor has been elected. I did put, because we said the first sentence of that is, directors shall serve for a term of 2 years or until a successor is duly elected or appointed. I don't know if I want to keep appointment, considering we're now combining the zone representatives with the directors. What do you
Sure.
all think?
Until a successor is duly elected, just say elected, not appointed. Yeah. I think that seems reasonable. Yeah, if we're having less leadership positions overall, then we should make sure that they are elected, chosen
Mm.
by as many people as possible.
Yeah. I also think
Yeah.
it's a good thing to point out that they can serve for no more than 3 years. Because they could find a loophole to just stay on
Mhm.
in term forever. Which, believe me, it's not the most fun thing in the world. No more than 3 years.
It says in the mid paragraph 4 consecutive years. You want to shrink that to 3?
So that's getting reelected.
Oh, okay. I see. Okay.
Yeah. Which is, I also wanted to ask if that was okay with everybody to have 2 terms in a row in the same position. Well, not in the same position as a director, I guess is the best way to put it.
Mm.
I mean, as long as they are, elected again, that seems
Yeah.
reasonable.
Yeah.
Okay, so that quantity is good. Any director may resign at any time by giving written notice to the board. The resignation takes effect upon receipt of notice or at a later date if specified in the notice. So we put this in here because it needs to be there. So for instance, if you are pregnant, you might be like, okay, I can keep doing this, but at a certain point I do have to leave. If you are traveling to a different country, I mean, there's like a lot of reasons why that might happen. Your parent might end up in hospice. Like there's a lot of things that I've found sometimes other bylaws don't take into account that just have to do with being a human being, and sometimes you have to just step away, you know. Unless otherwise specified therein, the acceptance of such resignation shall not be necessary to make it effective. So people can't force you to stay on the board. Any director may be removed at any time with or without cause by a majority of the responding membership or through direct violation of the code of conduct of the guild. I am curious if y'all have had a chance to read the code of conduct. Is it in here? We'll find it and take a look at it, but it's pretty specific. I believe, unless we only had a draft of it. Sorry, now I want to know where it is. We'll look for it later. I'm getting distracted. Anyway,
I have to jump off. But I will I can rewatch the rest of this later, or yeah, look over these again once you all have talked about it, and we'll update on those New Mexico laws and process. Hopefully I'll get some answers to those questions.
awesome. Perfect. Thank you so much, Ellen.
Awesome. Thank you. Sorry I have to
Good.
get out early.
You're okay. Bye.
Bye.
The next little section is a quorum, and that's just math. And most, especially for the board, I know North Carolina has laws about quorums being present. So we'll just need to check the percentages. And then here, this is where I'm at. So sorry, I'm just like all over the place here. I don't think there's anything to change there. I didn't make any notes about anything to change there. Was there anything that you
Yeah.
wanted to change in that section, Tanushree?
In the quorum section?
Uh-huh.
No, especially considering like that must be a minimum that we need. That's that's fine.
Perfect. The next one is meetings. We'll have to change this language to reflect what the zone representative meetings say.
Yeah.
And I think what we'll do is we might just swap them out.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do 150 because it seems like the major difference is, I mean, they were expected to maintain attend meetings of the board as well as quarterly zone representative meetings. So that just means there's more meetings.
Gotcha.
It does have to be in a form other than physical presence, such as conferences or teleconferences. You do have to specify that in your bylaws, at least in North Carolina. Otherwise, meeting online doesn't count as a meeting, which is interesting. Yeah, it was very interesting. And it might have changed recently, but from what I read, that's basically what it said. So we'll keep that. As long as all representatives participating in the meeting may simultaneously communicate with one another during the meeting. Special meetings of zone reps may be called by or at the request of a zone representative. That's the same for board members. They can call them whatever they want. 2-week notice needs to happen for those meetings, for both groups. And then let's see, notice must be given to everyone. Nobody can be excluded from a meeting. That language is. And then, so they're basically the same, just written slightly differently, and they'll need to meet more. because the board of directors only had to meet twice a year. The zone representatives need to meet quarterly. I'm gonna ask you, do you think we should just keep the monthly meeting?
You mean in here or like
Yeah, change the language so that it's not like 2 times a year, or it's not, which obviously would not work. Or it's not, how to phrase it, it's not once every quarter, which is only like 4 times a year.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think so. I feel like the monthly meetings are super helpful because the even though we check in kind of via text and chat, like it doesn't give as much of a complete picture. Like that's great too, like kind of check in on little things. But yes, a month goes by and if you don't attend it, it's so disorienting. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, let's do monthly then.
Yeah.
And that's also what other boards do. So it
Mm.
makes sense, or they'll meet like
Yes.
bi-monthly every 2 months, or is that what
Yeah.
it would be?
Oh,
Every 2 months is what I'm trying to
yeah.
say. Okay, so I've written that down. I'm doing it on paper because it would be weird for me to have like competing notes.
No. Yeah,
Um,
totally.
so, but I feel bad because you can't see what I'm doing. So then team leadership, I think we should add into the board of directors.
Mm.
2 zone representatives are required to lead a team. We could have it so that 2 people from the board have to be on a team. I think that's doable because if I think about our operations now, we have a periodic exhibition, which I'd like to have a biannual exhibition, and that seems to be what's sort of organically happened.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
and then we have regular programming. If we just look at what we're like right now. So that's like the newsletter. It's a lot of the things that you're in charge of and doing a fantastic job of. Instagram, etc. Incorporation is a big thing. So once that's done, we'll have more time to do something else. So I'm going to say currently incorporation, but I would swap that team out with funding or fundraising in later versions.
Yeah.
Is there anything I'm forgetting that we do?
The exhibitions, there's no, I think so. There's programming, there's
Maybe website maintenance, because we will need somebody to do that.
that's big. Yes.
Yeah.
Website
Um,
maintenance.
but that's like 4 teams. And
Mm.
let's see. In the case that we only have 3 board members, that would be difficult. They would need to each be on, well, it's not the end of the world for them to each be on 2 boards
Mm.
or 2
Yeah.
teams. And honestly, it would make more sense to do it that way.
Mm.
So I'm just gonna write that out.
That makes sense. I think we're kind of already doing that kind of thing. Everybody's managing. There's some overlap in what we're managing. Yeah.
Yeah. We would still need them to, well, I think maybe let's use the math doesn't work. I thought it would, but it doesn't. So we might have to say 1 per team.
And that's just the minimum, right? I feel like a minimum of 1 is fine because, if it's a small project, we don't have to bother with having necessarily 2 people on it. So 1 works, and then we're not stuck just because of the bylaws.
Yeah, I think that's
If we
true.
need more, yeah.
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 Team of leaders per team is able to expand, and we could change that language to be board of directors.
Mm.
Team leader may resign at any time. written notice to the board. Resignation takes effect upon receipt of notice. It's the same language as resigning from the board.
Yeah.
Be removed if they violate the code of conduct. Team leadership is bound by the articles listed in teams. We'll look at that in a minute.
Yeah.
Any vacancies created through resignation or removal can be filled through the self-nomination of another, and we'll say board member instead. So they can just volunteer.
Yeah.
And then I think they both have the waiver of notice. We have to have that by law. So it's basically saying you can waive notice of any meeting. So if you're like, oh, can't go, that's fine.
Yeah.
The attendance by a director and a board or a zone representative, the language is exactly the same. So I don't think we need to change anything unless New Mexico law says we do. Committees. So the board of directors may initiate the creation of committees, including an executive committee, which shall have and may exercise such powers as conferred. I'm sorry, I switched bylaws again.
I'm in both too, so I can just
Okay.
come into the other one. Yeah.
That helps. So the board of directors may initiate the creation of committees, including an executive committee, which shall have and may exercise such powers as conferred or authorized by the resolutions creating them. So that's basically just saying they can make committees, the end. If a committee is created excluding any election committees, it shall consist of at least one member of the board, shall include at least one officer. In that case, that's a zone representative. So we don't need to put that. We can just kind of eliminate that line. So that now it says it shall consist of at least one member of the board and consist of no fewer than 5 members. Committees, including any independent committees, are subject to the input of the board of directors. So we might want to revisit that language, because that was, committees were essentially the board's way of getting things done, whereas teams were the way of zone representatives getting things done. And we don't have enough volunteers for that to make sense.
Right.
So we might change that to teams, change like all the language here to teams. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, because they're responsible for day-to-day activities, duties, and functions of the guild. So, and we'll look at them in a minute. Designation of any committee or team and the delegation thereto of authority shall not relieve the board members or any member of the board of any responsibility or liability imposed on it or them by law. So like they can't make a committee to do something that legally is their job, like fiscal decisions are the job of the board. That's by law, right? So they can't make a committee for like the spending committee or something. Or the signing paperwork committee, like you can do that. The designated, okay, more than 50% of any such committee may determine its action and fix the time and place of its meetings. So as long as they have a quorum of members that say, yes, we're doing this, or this is when we're meeting, etc., that's fine. But importantly here, the board of directors gets a veto. And I don't know if we want to keep doing that.
Veto to the may decide its action and fix its time and place of a veto to the meetings that the committee decides on?
No, we're talking about any action they want to take.
Oh,
So
gotcha.
for instance, let's say, since we're combining teams and committees for the sake of ease, let's say that a team, there's somewhere in here that I believe a team can, I'll use a different example. So let's say the election committee, right? Does all the work, gets the votes in and says, okay, this really unpopular person, according to one of the members of the board, won the election. The language at the end of this sentence, the unless the board of directors provides otherwise,
Hmm.
makes it seem like the board of directors could override and veto the election committee. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes total sense. I
So I
see.
think we might need to take that out.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think so. I did not think of that use case, but that makes sense.
I just deleted it.
Yes.
Um,
Thank
and
you. Some
then
of this language is very confusing. I
it
appreciate
is,
your,
and it
yeah.
like stupidly has to be written this way, which is really dumb. Like, um, okay, so I'm gonna
Initially,
make a note.
yeah, yeah.
Out with teams. I'm sorry, I keep talking over you.
No, no.
Go ahead.
No, it was just I was going to make a recommendation in the beginning to make the language more accessible, but then I realized it's a part of the it has to get approved by the government. So definitely that explains the archaic demands on yeah.
Yeah, and it has to be like super specific, and
Wow. Yes.
we have to use words like there too.
Yeah.
Um,
Mm,
okay, so this is going to be a big sticking point, compensation. The board is the only group that does not get compensation. Teams are supposed to have, team leadership is supposed to have compensation. And then, which we talked about, the board members having to be team leaders. And then zone representatives also have compensation.
mm,
So how do we deal with that? So the reason the board, I'll just give you the background. The reason the board doesn't have compensation is because they're in charge of money.
mm.
So and they're
I
also
see.
able to like edit the bylaws. They would have to get the
Yes.
membership to agree, but they could easily sneak something into the bylaws at the end where they're like adding a percentage to their compensation. And I don't want to forego compensation because it's such an important part of this for us. Um, I don't know. I truly don't know what I think here.
Mm.
What do you think?
Is this typical that board members are usually never, the directors are never compensated, like in other like comparable adjacent? Yeah.
Yeah, so in MAPC, nobody's compensated in the
Mm,
board. But also none of the volunteers are compensated, which is
gotcha.
interesting because it's a really big organization with a lot of work put into it.
Mm,
I know SGCI, last time I checked, also they don't compensate anybody,
mm.
but that's like
And
all the way down. Like literally nobody gets compensation,
um,
which is part of the problem.
yeah,
'Cause that's like a lot of labor for no money. And if we're
yeah,
combining the zone reps, I mean, I would have liked to get $100 stipend for all of this work,
yeah,
personally. It would seem like, it's a drop in the bucket, but it would be nice if we
right.
could put that into our language so that hmm, when we're applying for things like grants, we can say, and we need this certain amount of money to hire these people to do this. There's
Yeah,
a legal issue here that we have to figure out with a lawyer.
yeah,
Uh, but I'd still want to put it in there.
absolutely. I'm looking at the zone representative compensation and
Mhm.
uh, non-fixed stipend. I see.
Yeah, it's proportional with the annual budget.
Yeah.
Um, Team leadership can choose
Mm,
to decline um, compensation to keep funds for the mutual aid of the guild. So they could say, no, thank you. You can keep that for the next show or something.
yeah.
Um, no other zone representative other than the team leadership receives compensation for their service,
Mm,
except that the board of directors provides through approval within reason. So let's say we need to make a new committee as a board,
yeah.
because we're doing grant writing, right? Like
Mm,
I would like to pay the grant writer, you know.
mm, gotcha.
And I would assume the rest of the board would want to do that as well. So that would be one of those approval things. Reimbursement of travel and lodging is also part of it. Barrier removal of technology. So if for some reason someone can't participate, but they want to be a part of the zone representatives or a team leader, we would help them with that. Or other materials necessary to perform the function of the position. Discounted or waived programming fees and waived membership fees. Those are all types of compensation. And importantly, that's all subject to economic feasibility. So I might also say, I might add to that it's subject to a membership vote.
Yeah, that makes sense. Wait, this is in the, yes. Okay, in this one. I was in the wrong one. I should
Totally
wait.
fine. It's they're all separate, which made sense at the time.
Yeah. Non-fixed stipend. And it's basically illegal for the board to receive a stipend. Is that right?
I think so. We should have asked, I should have thought to ask Emma that. I didn't think about it. Let's see if we can find out.
Yeah.
Can a board in
And if the board is on a committee, like if the directors are heading a committee and there's overlap, because so like if they're heading teams, team leadership can get paid, but if the board is the team for that time,
Mhm.
yeah. Yeah.
I don't know.
I know.
So I'm gonna look here. Well, that's just telling me something I already know. So we're looking for 501c3 status.
Mm.
That's the National Council of Nonprofits.
Mm.
Most people recognize the vast majority of board members are unpaid volunteers. Historically, the structure of charitable nonprofits has placed sizable responsibilities. They often have full-time jobs. Yeah, exactly the issue. But yeah, you have legal obligations as fiduciaries to the people who handle
Yeah.
finances. I don't know if that was condescending. I'm sorry.
No,
It was. To ensure that the nonprofit's assets, so I didn't know what it was before I started. That's why I said it. To ensure that the nonprofit's assets serve the nonprofit's mission and benefit the public, not private interests. So sometimes, what I was worried about before, right, which was the board upping their salary, that
Yeah.
becomes a private interest thing, and they can be taken off of the board for it. But I also am like worried in general. The expectation for most is that they do all this as volunteers. They can deduct expenses if they want to.
Yeah.
Adopt non-travel reimbursement. Yeah.
Yeah.
If board members are paid more than $600 a year, the nonprofit must issue them a 1099. It's interesting to know.
Yeah.
Bylaws of the organization may prohibit or limit compensation for board members, but bylaws may also be silent on this topic. Maybe this is a good way to do it, is limit that compensation.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, that.
Ooh, this is good to know. They can lose immunity in lawsuits that exist in some states. So it is going to be state specific. Okay.
Yeah.
State specific principles and practices address compensation. Why are these two separate links? Okay, we're going to follow one of them. And we'll see what happens. All the procedures. There's no federal law that prohibits it. That's good to know. I'm going to note that down.
Yeah. Voluntary service do not provide regular compensation. Board members are not expected to benefit personally. They should not suffer financially from their service. So a small stipend shouldn't hurt, but reasonable compensation.
Yeah, like it's more, I honestly am thinking of it more as an honorarium for service than anything else, you know?
Exactly.
I mean, it would be very easy for us to say your membership dues are waived while you're you know, board member, right?
Yeah.
But I also think we should do that for volunteers. Yeah, because in my opinion, you're way more than compensating us by volunteering. You know,
Oh, yeah.
um, so I'm putting that term reasonable
Yes. Reasonable.
is acceptable. So that's the federal law. I'm gonna go back to whatever the second link is. Look at that. That is a different link. Wild of them to do that back to back.
It's like, let's
Um,
put Easter eggs in our.
yeah, you really got to work for this. All right, they have it. Oh, that's fantastic. They have it listed. Okay.
Very feisty.
Um,
Oh,
oh, okay.
no, but
This is a resource that we would have to pay for. That's annoying. Great. Okay. That's really dumb.
yeah,
Anyway.
compensating.
Mhm.
Would it take away immunity in the event of a lawsuit in New Mexico? We don't have that information, right?
No, and that's the
By
one thing I'm
state.
trying to figure it out, but I don't,
Yeah, yeah.
um, yeah, it sounds like we're just gonna have to email the Secretary of State. Or
Oh
something.
my God.
Um, or whoever Emma's already emailed. I'm gonna look again just to see. This is Startups and all. That's one of those paid services. We'll see if they say. They're just gonna tell us we need an EIN. I know. We know. Um, if there's one thing I know, it is definitely that. Okay. Let's see. Oh, that's just about taxes.
Yeah.
That's not going to answer the question. It's important to have actually, so I am going to bookmark it for later reading, but it's not important right now. Okay. Yeah, all business
Yeah.
decisions basically. Formal legal responsibilities, important to ensure your board members understand their responsibilities, legal responsibilities. These are the same as in North Carolina. So there's a duty of care, there's a duty of loyalty, and there's a duty of obedience. They have to actually follow the mission and goals. Best interest of the nonprofit. Reasonable care when making decisions. That basically means like we can't embezzle. It's a hard one to prove because you know sometimes people make bad decisions. But okay, this is good to know. So they said some organizations choose to elect outside parties to act as officers. So that means that we don't have to use these terms for board members. Probably.
President, vice president. Yeah.
Yeah, it makes it sound like you
Yeah.
could just be a board member or you could be.
One of
But
these.
there are some nonprofits where board members are just on there for life. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I
it's
see.
interesting that I don't know. We'll find out if through election they have to have these roles.
Yeah, exactly. We just wanted to have a general board, right, rather than these roles.
Mhm. Yeah,
Oh,
except we
must include.
apparently have to have a president and a secretary. I'm
Shit.
gonna write that
Okay.
down.
Yeah.
And 3 total directors not related to each other. I
Hmm.
think that includes marriage.
Oh, I see.
Which in our small community might come up. I'm just gonna compensation.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay,
Mm.
interesting. A small number of New Mexico nonprofits, usually large, complicated organizations like healthcare systems, large foundations, or art institutions, do pay their board members. Okay, but that's the only place they say anything about it. Cute. Very helpful. I'm gonna try stipend.
Ideally, a board. Yeah. Uh,
Okay, that's about donating.
mm.
What the heck? I like that they're just dropping random little pieces of knowledge in this and then not telling us anything else. That's
And
wild.
you. Yeah.
Banking process. Okay. Well, at least now we know we do have to have a president and a secretary. I want to
Yeah.
verify that.
Yeah. Could you
Um,
ping me this link as well in the chat?
yeah.
There was a
100%.
section that, yeah.
Oh, wait, did you say you sent me one?
Oh no, if you can ping me this one
Okay.
in the chat, yeah.
Let me
Thank you,
see.
thank you.
Oh God, where is the chat? There we go. I use this literally every other day to teach class. I don't know why. I'm so incompetent. And I'm gonna bookmark it too. I might attach it to the agenda as well. Some of these
Perfect.
links in case they help
This is
Emma.
a good side, yeah. Conflicts of interest.
Mm. Haha, okay. Oh, that doesn't help anybody. You'll need to complete this form. The end. Great, thank you. Love that. That was so helpful. Hooray. Anyway, I'm sure it'll be helpful for something at some point.
Yeah,
But yeah, so we'll have to keep digging.
yeah.
I'm just gonna
We
select this
mm,
whole thing and say laws.
yes, exactly. I think we can do some more research. I can do some more research in this week as well on this. Um, especially with the immunity, loss of immunity in a lawsuit. I don't know what that is. That sounds scary and weird. So,
It does, yeah.
mm,
It's like in the back of my mind tickling a memory, and I think it's got something to do with, let's say somebody wants to, let's say we take somebody off the board because we think that
mm,
they're corrupt.
mm.
And like everybody votes for it, everybody in the membership votes, they could technically sue us. And if
Oh, I
we're
see.
found, to be doing something shady, basically, I think
Mm,
falls in loss of immunity, I think.
I
And
see.
it goes the other way too. So if somebody leaves the board and then they're found later to have done something that violated those three things, right? The duty of care, duty of all those duties. If they're found to have done something violating that willingly and maliciously, or to profit, right?
Mm,
Then the organization can sue them, I
gotcha.
think is what it is. I don't know, actually.
Oh my God.
It might also have something to do with taxes.
Mm.
So, but yes, big, scary, and weird.
Yeah.
Definitely something we want to figure out before we do it, because I'd like to give
Yes.
people compensation who are taking on a huge role.
Right.
But we could also think about possibly what that compensation looks like as far as just like not having to pay membership
Yeah.
dues, or having travel expenses
Mm.
reimbursed instead, right?
Yeah.
Which I don't want to do because like not everybody travels
Mm.
for their board. Yeah. But that
Yeah.
would also, I mean, there's like a positive and a negative to it, because if we don't pay the board, or that leadership, we could pay the other volunteers, or we could pay demonstrators, or we could save that money to create like scholarships, you know.
Yeah.
There could be something we do, and like the board's not, we would make sure that we make it really clear that the board's not prohibited from applying for those. That makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
So we
that
could
makes sense.
figure something out, but I'd rather it be something relatively direct personally. Most of the reason for that is it's you know, cost prohibitive. There's not, there aren't a lot, let me put it this way, in grad school, I could not have afforded to be on a board. Right after grad school, I couldn't afford to be on a board. I didn't have time to do this stuff without being compensated somehow. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, that's how that whole compensation thing came up.
Absolutely. It's like a whole second shift of responsibilities. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And it's also like a very white institution thing to do, to be like, you have time, right?
Yeah.
No, I don't. Okay, so just really quickly, let's look at teams. So again, I did physical notes for this because I'm a ding dong. So it's ADHD. It's easier to do it this way.
Yeah, that's
I don't know.
and that works. Sorry, what?
I just don't know why. It just somehow works better this way.
Totally. And in it's not disorienting. Just so you know, it's not disorienting for me because I have the documentation in front of me, and just because you don't have the notes, you should do it that way. Because sometimes writing it's just easier. And if that's more accessible for you, do it.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I feel weird about it, but I shouldn't.
Yeah, no.
So with teams, very little language I think needs to change here. They are still going to be doing day-to-day activities and functions of the guild, for both public and the membership. They're going to be flexible. Activities of the guild are accomplished by these established teams as transparently as possible with oversight and direction from, it will just be the board of directors. Now we've all kind of agreed. Zone representatives will oversee tasks within teams are accomplished. That's mostly just so that there's like structure. Mostly it's just saying that they're going to be in charge of like agendas and stuff. But again, we'll have that say board of directors oversee the tasks within teams. Maybe we'll call them team leaders in that case.
Yeah.
Fiscally related decisions are addressed by the collective board of directors, maybe. I think it's just language changes here.
Yeah.
And then communications to be decided upon by team leaders and volunteers. One thing I am gonna say is whenever I write out like team leaders, I don't know if you've ever worked in the service industry, but that's like a trite little name that they give to like shift supervisors.
No.
And I like kind of hate it.
Oh my God.
But I don't know what else to say.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I don't know if I want it to be committees also sounds kind of goofy. And it has that like ring of non-radical institutions.
Yeah.
So I don't know. If you think of a better word, I will deeply appreciate it.
Okay, I can make a note of looking for something. And we're conflating teams and committees at this point, right?
Yes. Yeah, they're now essentially the same thing.
Yeah.
So, and what we'll do when we send this out to everybody is I'm just going to make one gigantic document and then we'll make notes on what we changed in the margins so that they don't have to read the whole thing. I think we can also like summarize it as well on the Instagram post and on the email that we send out whenever we're done. which it looks like might be by next month, with this part of incorporating, which would be great.
Yes. Oh, it's
Um,
finally happening.
yeah, it's happening. And then we'll get an EIN and then we can apply for grants and it's
Oh
gonna
my
be
God.
beautiful.
Mhm.
And the formation. So zone representatives will need to collectively establish teams. Again, that's gonna be team leads.
Mm.
So that puts the onus on the leader of that team. So whenever that group of new board members comes in during that
Mm.
6-month overlap period with the old board, they
Yeah.
will be reaching out to form their team into our membership, and we can send out one big mass email. But what I found works really well is like the individual reaching out to other individuals.
Mm.
For
Yeah.
some reason that works better. It also makes it more flexible so that if we need a new random team or committee,
Mm.
then whoever takes that on is the one who's reaching out to get help for it.
Yeah.
A mutually defined list of membership needs will determine the formation of specific teams to then be organized by the zone representatives. And that's in Board of Directors 1A, upholding the mission, goals, and objectives of the guild collaboratively with the membership and the zone representatives. So that's mostly just like you have one big meeting where you go, what are we doing? What do we want to do? And then you go from there
Yeah.
whenever everybody gets elected. And so that meeting is one of the meetings that the former board will be present for,
Mm.
which is, I think, fantastic to have all the missions, goals, and objectives. So I don't think we need to change that language. It's just vague because it's the bylaws.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
We'll just need to change the zone representatives part. Eliminate that. Zone representatives may request localized zone teams to meet area needs as defined by that zone's membership. Yeah. We're gonna have to just eliminate that. So
Yeah.
you probably realized in the zone representatives, it was geographical. And we're getting rid of that function now, which I
Yeah.
don't love. I liked the idea of it being geographical because sometimes boards will, because they're all in the same place, like me and Brett are in the same place and we're both on the MAPC board. So we're gonna have a bias
Oh.
towards doing things in the Southwest, you know,
Oh, I see.
Uh,
Yeah.
which is gonna make it harder for people in the Northeast coastal area to get here,
Mm.
or people from Canada to get all the way down
Yeah.
here. It'll make it easier for people in Mexico, but you know, it's one of those weird things.
Yeah.
That hopefully we can put this language back in if we get bigger. So I'm just gonna eliminate that statement.
Yeah.
And then,
Do you want to keep snippets of these in like a separate document, the language that we're removing in case we ever need it back, like so we don't have to reframe it?
yeah, I think so. I think what I'm gonna do is literally just make a new document of all the bylaws, copy paste
Okay.
into it, and then edit there.
Yes. That makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah. Responsibilities of teams, the affairs, organization, and leadership of the guild shall be overseen by its board members, in this case, in accordance with the bylaws. Representatives are, oh, am I in the right place? Yeah,
Yeah. Day-to-day operations of the guild.
okay, yeah. Interesting that this is here. I don't think this makes sense, actually. It's describing their relationship with teams, but it's not.
Yeah.
So we might need to change this language to be team specific about volunteers.
Yeah.
I didn't catch that in my first read through, or apparently whenever I drafted this.
Mhm.
That's very interesting. Okay. So it's going to be team-based language. And again, they'll uphold the mission, goals, and objectives of the guild, alongside the board of directors, maintain a consistent public presence with the membership, including but not limited to, okay, this is like the details. Documentation of all activities, social media and other platforms, communicate and empower fiscal, technical, physical, or other needs required to accomplish tasks set forth by the board of directors and the membership. So that one especially gives them the ability to purchase microphones, right?
Mm,
Or for them to say, hey, I've heard about this thing called Otter,
mm,
which is the AI that we have here.
yeah,
We should just get our own account, right? That
yeah,
kind of thing.
yeah.
And of course, the board of directors is going to have to approve that purchase, but they can
Mm,
propose it.
mm,
Really prefer it if we had like organic idea sharing like that.
yeah.
Team members are expected to
Mm,
collaboratively conduct themselves within their given teams. Yeah, collaboration.
mm, mm,
As well as hold themselves accountable to deadlines. I don't think that really changes. Being a volunteer on a team requires attendance to 2 meetings per year. I
mm.
think it should be more
Yeah, yeah. I was
because
thinking
of
two
what you
meetings
said
a
earlier.
year. Yeah,
Yeah.
that sounds very little. Well, like every 2 months? Is that 2 months? Required attendance
Yeah,
every 2 months? Yeah.
I think that's a good idea. Attendance every 2 months. Because like you said, like when you miss a month, it's just like, what are we talking about now?
Yeah, yeah.
Every, and then I'll say minimum of 6
Mm,
total. In case, meetings get canceled. Um,
yeah.
okay, to be scheduled by respective team leaders. Okay. Implement strategies that will work best for given team in service to the guild and membership, sustaining clear, transparent communication between the board, other teams, committees, and membership, which we're gonna get rid of the distinction of committees.
Mm,
We did talk about initially the election committee being a separate entity.
yeah.
And I still kind of think that's a good idea. We would just need to write bylaws for it. Where it's like,
Mm,
not related necessarily to people who are volunteering or people on the board. Instead, it's like membership. It's made up of members and they do a
mm.
short-term project together.
And, and you want it to be separate because like that would mean they're more objective or
Yeah, that's my thought anyway.
mm, mm,
Because they're gonna be dealing with, sensitive information, I guess. I don't know how else to
yeah,
put it.
yeah.
But I also don't know if it should be a committee. It might just be like a pair of people, like two people who just do,
Yeah.
you know.
Mm,
I'm gonna make a little asterisk here to revisit election committee. As a separate entity. And actually, I think it might be in the miscellaneous bylaws.
mm,
But we need to look at that next time. Designation to a volunteer team grants full powers and rights as determined by membership. I don't know what we meant by that.
volunteer team as against team like committee versus team.
Yeah, if you're designated as a member of a volunteer committee, you get full powers and rights as determined by membership. Okay, I understand. So whatever the membership is okay with is what you have. That mechanic, I don't think is gonna work anymore.
Yeah. Too
That would
few.
require multiple votes, and
Yeah.
I don't think it's gonna make sense.
Mm,
So I'm gonna draw a line through that and we can come back to it.
yeah.
Structure. Oh, we're past 12:30. Is that okay for you, Tanushree?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
That works.
The development, implementation, structure, organization of teams within the guild are collectively shaped and expanded by the membership first. So we do what the members want to do,
Mm,
right?
mm,
So like what you were talking about, where you're putting it up to a vote to the membership, what programming they'll see next on Instagram, exact same thing.
mm.
We ask members, we don't just do things to them. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Um, and then followed, so basically, the membership is first in charge of what teams do. Then we'll say, I don't know, maybe with this one, we should say team leads, followed by the team leaders. And lastly, the board of directors.
Yeah. Because the one
Because,
representative. Yeah.
yeah, like I would greatly prefer that the board of directors, to a certain extent, gets their, claws trimmed. So that things are based on membership votes more often than they are based on just saying, well, let's just ask the board, made up of a minimum of, so a team is made up of a minimum of 4 members, including 2 zone representatives. We changed that language, so I'll just draw a line through that and say update to reflect what we decided before. But my question for you is 4 members, does that feel like a good number?
I was wondering if we, especially in the beginning stages, be able to hustle up 4 members. Should we make it 2 for now, or like a minimum? And then if we have 4, that's fine. 2 is too little, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm worried about, because I'm thinking about what we have been doing, like specifically the exhibition, right? Which is one of the bigger things we've done.
Hmm.
But like I couldn't imagine doing that with just myself and Edie. Like
Yeah.
Emma and you both helped quite a bit with that.
Hmm.
Or like making the website. That went fine with just me and Edie, but I could imagine it would have gone better with a third person, you know.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So maybe we aim for 3, because I agree that 4 might be too big.
Yeah. Oh, I did. Although I thought this is the minimum, right? So I thought like
Yes,
the
it's true.
idea of keeping the minimum to, like, suppose you don't have anyone, like suppose me and Emma weren't around and you and Edie, it was a smaller project and you guys were okay doing it, but like because it's written in the bylaws, you needed one more person to
Yeah,
make the minimum.
that
Yeah.
does make sense. Let's do 2, because I mean, the benefit of 3 is that you have to break ties. But also if it's anything that has to do with money,
Yeah.
right? Like it's gonna have to go by the board anyway. So
Oh, I see.
I wouldn't be too worried about it being 2 people. And then kind of let's put it this way. What if I were a wild person and I said I would love for us to spend $1,000 on purchasing equipment for one demo, right? Because this person needs a microphone and they need this and they need that. And the person on the board or on the committee with me, the team with me goes, yeah, that actually sounds really good. I mean, these things are expensive, blah, blah, blah. It's not like that immediately happens, right? That purchase doesn't immediately happen. It would go up to the board who would decide, is that actually economically feasible for us as a board, you know?
Yeah.
And
But
sometimes it might be, knock on wood, fingers crossed.
yeah.
But they might put, the board might put stipulations on it and say, okay, yes, we can do that. However, we have to have, let's say the microphone, the equipment kit, including the camera and all of that has to be returned to us by that member or that
Yeah.
presenter or whatever that means, right?
That makes sense. And I hadn't thought of the third person in terms of a tiebreaker, so that's an interesting thing to keep in mind too. Yeah.
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 I think for now, I'm totally fine with saying 2
Mm.
because it seems realistic. And you're right, like there are some projects we've done where 2 people are more than enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Like I'm sure it would be helpful if you had another person helping you with the programming, but you might not want like 5 people all helping at once. You'll run out of things to give them. At least in this phase while we're doing incorporation, you might,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a really good point. And maybe we'll revisit it to 3. I'll put a note there. And I'll say a year after incorporation. The number of members per team is able to continuously expand as the number of, we'll just say membership, because we're getting rid of the geography, as the number of membership fluctuates during the year. While the guild is non-hierarchical within its mission and structure, the board of directors manage all large fiscal requests for the guild via a survey of the entire current membership. I don't know how feasible that is anymore, but
Mm.
I think maybe what it is we need to determine what large means.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we don't have to do that right now, but I think it's a good thing for us to think about.
Yeah.
I'm thinking like anything more than $1,000 or even more than 500, right? Because it would be cumbersome if we had to have the membership approve award funding
Yeah.
for a show,
Yeah.
right? And it's
Yeah.
only up to $500 in awards,
Mm.
but or a total of $500 in awards, not up to. But if we wanted to pay, let's say, a juror $1,500, like I really think we need to justify that because that's a lot of money for jurying.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I
we'll have to
think
think about a rough number
yeah.
that determines large.
Hmm.
But I do think it's a good idea to talk to the membership whenever we do those large purchases.
Mhm.
For instance, like something I'm not a huge fan of, and I have no problem going on record saying this, is the way that MAPC determines the next conference location. There's kind of no membership input, which is very strange
Oh,
to me. Because
yeah.
we send out to Sophie, the president of the MAPC right now. She sent out a like, hey, who wants to do this? That's not really what it sounded like, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It was much more professional.
Yeah.
Sent that out.
Yeah.
And then different universities responded to her directly. And so I still don't know who those universities are, which to be fair, I did miss the last meeting. But as far as I'm aware, at no point during that does the membership vote on where it will be. And that seems
Wow.
kind of
Yeah.
strange, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, because like with SGCI, they were supposed to have a conference in Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
I can't afford to do that on my own dime, and a lot of people couldn't.
Right.
And there was a lot of
Yeah.
conversation about how that priced people out of attending,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?
That's
Um,
very strange.
yeah, and if we were like, let's do it in Mexico City, there's going to be a lot of people who won't be able to do that, right? Or
Mm.
depending on, you know, the constitution of our membership, maybe there are a lot of people who can do that. And I'd rather have a vote for that
Yeah.
than just decide it for everybody, you know?
Exactly.
That
Exactly.
kind of a thing feels like a big fiscal request that needs to have
Yes.
people vote on it, you know?
For sure. For sure. That's
Yeah.
and fiscal like based on the fiscal situation of the membership as well. So that's a good
Yeah.
point. Mm.
Yeah. And I mean, that has to do with like a whole contract situation, you know? Like, and usually there's a cost sharing agreement. So it's not like you're necessarily paying to have the conference at that location.
Yeah.
Depending on how you do your conferences, right? You might pay to have it. But you have to have like a whole conversation about like, okay, so you're going to get 25% of our proceeds, right?
Okay.
Or you're going to get 50 or whatever.
Mm.
And that's what the university gets from hosting the
Mm.
the conference, right? Which is cool,
Gotcha. Yeah.
but I think we should get that approved.
Yeah.
You know. Anyway, these needs are then communicated to the zone representatives to then establish within the membership contained within their respective zone the necessary teams to accomplish said goals. So since we're wiping the zone aspect, we just wipe that whole statement, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. The reason we had zones in the first place was because we had a lot of people that were in India and Germany that started following us, and we want
yeah.
to be able to do something with them, but also
Yes.
probably because of the time frame and probably the technology we're using. We don't
Yeah.
see a lot of volunteers from those groups, and we don't necessarily have the ability to pay for accounts that are more open
Mm.
yet.
Yeah.
Yet. So my hope is that that language can come back in when we're bigger.
For sure. For sure.
Um, Designation as a team member does not forfeit any powers, interests, or rights afforded by membership. We keep that. They're able to vote on any membership votes
Mm.
as a member, even if that's like a thing they worked on proposing. Meetings, we talked about this.
Mm.
The number of meetings doesn't work.
Mhm.
And that was in their responsibilities, so 6 total meetings per year. So again, we'll just revise this to reflect that.
Mm.
Special meetings of the volunteer members of a team may be called by or at the request of anyone involved in the team. I think that's a good thing to keep, because for
Yeah.
instance, like with the website, Edie and I met way more often,
Yeah.
just because it was necessary. Notice must be given at least
Definitely.
2 weeks in advance by any usual means of communication. That phrasing, usual means of communication, is a legal term. And any action taken at a special meeting shall be avoidable upon failure to obtain acknowledgement of receipt or of notice from any not zone representative board member. I'm gonna say team member here,
Yeah.
because that's what matters.
Mhm.
You can't have secret meetings without one of your team members. It's not okay.
Mhm.
Notice must be given of any and all team meetings at least 1 business week before the meeting date to both the board of directors and the membership, in case they want to go.
Yeah.
I think we should poll the membership to see if they want to know when our meetings change,
And probably it's
because
one.
they might not.
Uh,
Like for instance, when I updated all of the calendar instances of this meeting, I've already
Yeah.
gotten like 20 people that said no.
Uh-huh.
And I'm sure that they were like, why is this coming up again?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, so we might want to check.
Yeah.
And then vacancies. So any volunteer can resign at any time, providing any kind of documented notice. It can be a text, it can be an email, whatever, to any team leader, we'll say. That really does sound like we're like a CC's Pizza. The resignation takes effect upon receipt of notice unless otherwise specified therein. The acceptance of such resignation shall not be necessary. Again, you can't trap somebody on on a committee or a team. Volunteer on a team may be removed at any time with or without cause by a majority of the responding membership. So again, if for some reason a team member is behaving like a child, we'll say, and they're being petulant and petty and doing all these horrible things with their ability to do something powerful, at any point in time, the membership could vote them out. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's fair. I mean, if
I think it
you're
is. Mhm.
being harassed by somebody who's a volunteer in our organization, you need to
Yeah.
feel like you can come to us and say something about that.
Mhm.
And that action will be taken.
Yeah.
Or through direct violation of code of conduct. Yeah. Any vacancies created through resignation or removal can be filled through the self-nomination of another member. And again, we don't need the zone language to be approved by, we'll say, team leader. The waiver of notice is the same for everything. It's like if you show up, it's a waiver of notice, except when you attend a meeting for the express purpose of objecting to the transaction of any business because the meeting is not lawfully called or convened. So if you show up and you're like, hey, you didn't actually notify me of this meeting. I found out from somebody else.
Mm.
That's different. That's a different
Yeah.
situation. It's not a waiver of notice.
Mhm.
Any volunteer member may object to violation of notice within a 2-week period. After said unlawfully convened or called meeting through virtual or written means. Again, no secret meetings. I'm very confrontational, so I like that. But also, I don't think that it's beneficial to have an organization full of secrets.
Yes, for sure. I mean,
Yeah,
transparency is something we've all agreed is a good thing, even with the membership and within. Yeah.
right. And you don't have to like somebody to work with them.
Yeah.
You don't. As long as they're respecting you and you're respecting them, we're fine, you know. Um, team leadership is entitled to compensation in the form of discounted. Okay, so for team leadership, I believe we specifically stated that they would get discounted or waived programming fees and waived membership fees, which is something we can do, is reasonable to do. I don't think that's against the law in New Mexico, but we have to check just in case. They can choose to decline that if they'd like to, but they don't get a stipend in that way.
Yeah.
So what my suggestion is since we're already figuring out, like, can the board still get a stipend the way that the zone representatives would have? My thought is, I mean, the team leadership there would be board members, right? My thought is changing this to team members. So anybody who joins a volunteer team gets discounted or waived programming fees and waived membership fees because they're paying us for
Yeah.
their labor, you know?
That makes sense. And
Yeah,
that's more inclusive too. Yeah. Yeah.
right. That's kind of what I think. Okay. We'll say team members are subject to the approval of the board and based on economic feasibility, certain barrier removal for technology and other materials necessary to perform the function of the position will be provided by the guild. All compensation is subject to economic feasibility. Yeah. It'd be nice if we could provide people with like iPads or something. Or like an account, like a Canva account or something. And that does kind of account for the Canva accounts, because it would be like, we pay for our Canva account and we just give you access, you know,
Yeah.
it covers that kind of action. All right.
Yes, this
We
is,
did it.
we got through so much stuff.
We did, and we're only 30 minutes later than I thought we would be. Hooray.
Yes. Oh
Yeah.
God.
Oh, Julie's AI left. It was
Oh,
probably
yeah.
only for Julia's AI. It was probably only for the determined time.
Yeah.
Hopefully the closed captions are helpful. I have been getting them corrupted recently, like the VTT files, that's the transcript, when I
Yeah.
upload them to YouTube, for some reason aren't working.
What?
So there are like 2-3 videos that don't have good captions because the file didn't work. But the last one, I believe the file did work.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. I got a VTT out of it at least. So we'll see about this one, fingers crossed.
Yes.
Because that's an accessibility nightmare.
Exactly.
Maintaining our closed captions is so expensive. Like, it's just such a we had two volunteers over time who did it, and both of them stopped volunteering with us because it felt so isolating and it was so much work, and I don't want to do that again.
Yeah.
But we still need those captions, so we got to figure it out somehow. And maybe I've been thinking maybe what we can do is get an Otter account.
Okay, yeah. Because I was looking through some of the Otter stuff and some of it seemed incoherent, but for the rest, it was okay. It just wasn't capturing a few words, but for the rest, it looked pretty good.
Yeah.
So it seems hit or miss, and yeah, I'll also work with Otter and see if it can capture accents,
Yeah,
different kinds of accents. I mean, yeah.
it's a super cool thing. I first found out about it because there was somebody attending a panel
Mm.
that had it on her phone. And I'm sure I wigged her out because I asked about it. But it was mostly because my nephew's hearing impaired, and I was like, I want to
Mm.
know what this is because he
Yeah.
feels super. I wouldn't like he has hearing aids, and they
Yeah.
mostly fix that as long as there's not a ton of other noise. And I think
Mm.
it'd be
Mm.
really interesting to see if it can handle like distance far away.
Yeah.
Um, anyway,
Mhm.
that's why I asked about it, but I've been very curious about it since then. So,
Yeah.
and you
Wow.
can do a free version of it, but I wonder if we could do like a nonprofit version. There's a business
Mm.
version that's $20 a month, but that's expensive.
For
Um,
later. Yeah.
yeah. So,
Oh, should we stop recording? Oh, I just
Oh yeah,
realized
we
we're
can
still
stop
recording.
recording. I'm
Yeah.
just meandering
Yeah.
off
No,
into
no.
the distance.